Chosen one, what if I told you that some of the biggest disappointments in your life were not setbacks at all? What if the door that closed, the opportunity that vanished, the relationship that ended, and the plans that suddenly fell apart were all stopped by Allah for a reason? There are moments when Allah does not simply change a situation. He cancels everything because He has decided to do something far greater for His servant. While you were worrying about what you lost, Allah was protecting what He planned to give you. While others thought your story was ending, Allah was preparing a new chapter that no one could stop. In today's message, we will uncover 6 powerful lessons that reveal why Allah sometimes removes, delays, and rearranges everything in your life, and why what feels like a loss today may actually be the beginning of the greatest blessing you have ever received. Stay until the end, because one of these lessons may explain exactly what is happening in your life right now. Lesson 1. Allah cancels plans that threaten your purpose. Chosen one, one of the hardest truths to accept is that not every opportunity is a blessing from Allah. Sometimes the very thing you are praying for, chasing, or holding on to is actually leading you away from the purpose Allah has chosen for you. When a relationship ends, a job opportunity disappears, or a plan you worked so hard for suddenly falls apart, it is natural to feel disappointed and wonder why Allah allowed it to happen. But Allah sees what you cannot see. He knows the future while you only see the present moment. What appears good today may carry hidden pain tomorrow. A person you trust may eventually betray you. A door that looks promising may lead you away from your faith, or an opportunity that seems perfect may become a source of stress and regret. This is why Allah sometimes closes doors that you are desperately trying to open, not to punish you, but to protect you. Look at Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him. He was thrown into a well by his own brothers, separated from his family, sold into slavery, and imprisoned despite being innocent. From the outside, it looked like every dream in his life had been destroyed, yet every setback was actually moving him closer to the position Allah had prepared for him. Had he remained where he was comfortable, he would never have reached the destiny Allah had written for him. The well was not the end, the slavery was not the end, and the prison was not the end. They were all part of Allah's plan. Chosen one, there may be things in your life that you still do not understand. You may be grieving a loss, a rejection, or a closed door, but what if Allah removed it because it was standing in the way of something greater? What if the disappointment you feel today is actually divine protection? Remember, Allah never takes something away without wisdom. Sometimes His mercy comes in the form of a delay, a rejection, or a door closing in your face. So when Allah removes something from your path, do not immediately think you have lost. Trust that the one who sees the beginning and the end of your story is guiding you towards something better, even if you cannot see it yet. Lesson 2. Allah stops what people started against you. Chosen one of the most comforting truths in Islam is that no plan against you can succeed unless Allah allows it. There may be people who secretly dislike you, spread rumors about you, try to damage your reputation, block your opportunities, or celebrate your struggles, believing they have control over your future. Sometimes, you may not even know who is working against you or what is being said behind your back. Yet while they are making their plans, Allah is already in control of the outcome. The Quran reminds us that people may plot, but Allah is the best of planners. Look at the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. His enemies spent years trying to stop his mission. They mocked him, rejected him, threatened him, and eventually gathered together with a plan to kill him. From a human perspective, it looked as if there was no escape, but Allah had already decided otherwise. Their carefully prepared scheme failed, and the Prophet, peace be upon him, safely left, while Allah protected him every step of the way. Chosen one, the same Lord who protected His prophets, is fully aware of every injustice done to you. There may have been opportunities someone tried to steal from you, relationships someone tried to destroy, or blessings someone tried to block. But if Allah has written something for you, no person can take it away. Sometimes Allah exposes the truth, sometimes He removes harmful people from your path, and sometimes He simply causes their plans to collapse without you ever knowing what happened. That delay, cancellation, or unexpected change in your life may have been Allah's protection working behind the scenes, so do not spend your energy worrying about who is against you. Focus instead on your relationship with Allah. People may have influence, money, connections, and power, but none of those things are greater than the will of Allah. When Allah decides to protect a servant, even the strongest plans against them can disappear in a single moment. Remember, your future is not in the hands of those who oppose you, it is in the hands of Allah, and that is the safest place it can be. Lesson 3. Allah delays you because He is preparing something greater. Chosen one of the most difficult tests a believer will ever face is the test of waiting. It is hard to remain patient when you have been making dua for months or even years and still see no visible change. You pray, you work hard, you stay faithful, and yet the answer seems delayed. Meanwhile, you watch other people receive the very things you have been asking Allah for. They get the promotion, they find the relationship, they achieve the success, and they seem to move forward while you remain in the same place. During these moments, Shaitan tries to fill your heart with doubt. He wants you to believe that Allah has forgotten you, that your prayers are not being heard, or that your time will never come. But chosen one, nothing could be further from the truth. The delay is not proof that Allah has abandoned you. Often, it is proof that Allah is preparing something far greater than you can currently imagine. Allah does not only prepare blessings for His servants, He prepares His servants for the blessings. Sometimes the thing you are asking for is ready, but you are not yet ready for it. Sometimes Allah needs to build your character, strengthen your faith, increase your wisdom, and teach you lessons that will help you protect the blessing when it finally arrives. Think about Prophet Musa, peace be upon him. Before Allah chose him to confront Pharaoh and lead an entire nation, he went through years of preparation. He experienced fear, uncertainty, separation, and exile. There were long periods when he could not understand what Allah was doing in his life. Yet every experience was shaping him into the man he needed to become before receiving one of the greatest missions in history. If Allah had given him that responsibility too early, he would not have been prepared for it. In the same way, there may be things happening in your life right now that make no sense to you. The closed doors, the delays, the waiting, the setbacks, and the seasons of uncertainty may actually be training grounds designed by Allah. While you are focused on the blessing, Allah may be focused on transforming you into the person capable of carrying it. Remember, a farmer does not become angry when a seed takes time to grow because he understands that growth happens beneath the surface before it becomes visible above the ground. Likewise, Allah may be doing His greatest work in your life during the seasons when it appears that nothing is happening. Every prayer is heard, every tear is counted, every moment of patience is recorded, and when the right time arrives, Allah can open doors in a single day that no amount of human effort could open in years. Chosen one, never mistake a delay for a denial. If Allah is making you wait, it may be because what is coming requires preparation, and when you finally receive it, you will realize that the waiting was not a punishment, it was part of the blessing itself. One day you will look back on this season and thank Allah not only for what He gave you, but for the wisdom behind why He made you wait. Lesson 4. Allah removes people who can no longer follow your journey. Chosen one of the most painful experiences in life is watching people you love, trust, and care about slowly disappear from your journey. Sometimes it happens suddenly, and sometimes it happens little by little. Friends become distant, relationships end, people stop supporting you, and those who once stood beside you seem to vanish when you need them most. During these moments, It is easy to feel rejected, abandoned, or confused. You may spend months asking yourself what went wrong and why certain people left your life. But what if their departure was not a punishment from Allah? What if it was actually His protection and guidance? The truth is that not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay forever. Some people are assigned to a chapter of your story, but they are not meant for the entire book. Allah knows the future of every relationship, every friendship, and every connection better than we do. He knows who will help you grow closer to Him and who will eventually become an obstacle to your purpose. Sometimes Allah removes people because they carry jealousy, negativity, bad influences, or hidden intentions that you cannot yet see. Other times, He removes them simply because the next level of your journey requires different people around you. A powerful example can be found in the life of Prophet Nuh, peace be upon him. For centuries, he called his people to Allah with patience and sincerity, yet many rejected his message. Among those who refused to believe was even his own son. Imagine the pain of a father watching his child reject the truth, despite years of guidance and love. When the great flood came, Prophet Nuh, peace be upon him, desperately wanted his son to be saved, but Allah made it clear that faith and obedience mattered more than family ties. This teaches us a powerful lesson. Not everyone we want to keep in our lives is meant to remain there. Sometimes Allah removes people because they are not aligned with the future He has written for us. Chosen one, there are moments when Allah sees conversations you do not hear, intentions you do not know, and dangers you cannot recognize. While you are trying to hold on, Allah may already know that letting go is necessary for your growth. The person who walked away may have been blocking your peace. The friendship that ended may have been slowing your spiritual progress. The relationship that broke apart may have prevented a much greater blessing from entering your life. Years later, many believers look back and realize that the people they cried over losing were actually people Allah was protecting them from. What felt like heartbreak was hidden mercy. What felt like rejection was divine redirection. So if someone has left your life, do not automatically assume that your story is falling apart. Sometimes Allah removes people because He is making room for better influences, stronger relationships, and greater opportunities. Trust that if Allah allowed someone to leave, He did so with wisdom. The one who brought them into your life knows exactly when their role in your journey has ended, and He knows exactly who needs to be there for the next chapter He is preparing for you. Lesson 5. Allah changes the battlefield before the victory arrives. Chosen one of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that victory always arrives in a straight line. They imagine that when Allah decides to bless someone, the path will become easy, the obstacles will disappear immediately, and success will arrive exactly as expected. But throughout Islamic history, Allah has often shown that before He grants victory, He first changes the entire battlefield. Before the breakthrough comes, circumstances begin shifting in ways that make no sense to the human mind. Doors close unexpectedly, people move out of your life, plans collapse, delays appear, and situations become so confusing that you begin to wonder whether you are moving backward instead of forward. Yet this is often the very moment when Allah is rearranging everything in your favor. Chosen one, there are battles you are fighting today that cannot be won with your strength alone. There are obstacles standing before you that seem too large, too powerful, and too deeply rooted to overcome. Perhaps you have been facing opposition, rejection, financial difficulties, emotional struggles, family problems, or a season of uncertainty that feels like it will never end. Every day you make dua. Every day you ask Allah for relief. And every day it seems like nothing is changing. But what if the victory you are waiting for requires Allah to first change the environment around you? What if the breakthrough cannot happen until certain people leave, certain situations collapse, and certain hidden events unfold behind the scenes? Allah does not simply give victory, He prepares the conditions for victory in ways that only He can understand. Look at the incredible story of Prophet Musa, peace be upon him. When he and the believers stood before the sea with Pharaoh's massive army approaching behind them, the situation appeared completely hopeless. There was a sea in front of them and an enemy army behind them. From a human perspective, there was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, and no possible escape. Even some of the believers became afraid and thought they were finished. But Prophet Musa, peace be upon him, responded with complete trust in Allah and said that Allah would guide them. At that moment, Allah changed the entire battlefield. The sea itself became a path of escape. What looked like an impossible barrier became the very road to victory. Meanwhile, the same sea that saved the believers became the means through which Pharaoh and his army were destroyed. Think about that for a moment, chosen one. Allah did not simply remove the obstacle, He transformed the obstacle into part of the solution. The thing that looked impossible became the very thing that delivered victory. This is how Allah works. He can change circumstances so dramatically that what once appeared to be your greatest problem becomes the reason for your greatest blessing. The same pattern can be seen in the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. For years, the believers in Makkah were persecuted, mocked, threatened, and oppressed. They appeared weak in the eyes of the world. Their enemies were wealthier, stronger, and more influential. Yet Allah was preparing events that no one could see. The migration to Medina seemed like a painful separation from home, but it became the foundation for a powerful Islamic community. What looked like a loss was actually preparation for victory. Then came the Battle of Badr, where a small group of believers faced a much larger and stronger enemy force. By worldly standards, the believers should have been defeated. They had fewer numbers, fewer resources, and less military strength. But Allah changed the battlefield. Through His support, the believers achieved a victory that shocked everyone and changed the course of history. Chosen one, the lesson is clear. Never judge your future based solely on your present circumstances. Allah is capable of changing everything in a single moment. The people who seem powerful today can become powerless tomorrow. The doors that appear permanently closed can suddenly open. The obstacles that seem impossible can disappear. The delays that frustrate you can become the reason you arrive at the right place at the right time. Often, when Allah is preparing a major breakthrough, He begins by disrupting the normal order of things. He removes false supports so that you learn to rely on Him alone. He allows certain plans to fail so that better plans can emerge. He separates you from environments that no longer serve your purpose. He exposes hidden truths. He shifts circumstances. He positions people. He creates opportunities. And all of this is happening while you think nothing is changing. That is why so many believers look back on difficult seasons and realize that Allah was working the entire time. The rejection they cried over protected them from future pain. The delay they complained about prepared them for a greater blessing. The closed door they feared led them toward a better opportunity. The struggle they wanted removed became the source of strength they needed later. Chosen one, if your life feels uncertain right now, do not lose hope. If the battlefield around you seems chaotic, remember that Allah specializes in creating order from chaos. He is the Lord who split the sea for Prophet Musa, peace be upon him. He is the Lord who protected Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, when he was thrown into the fire and commanded the flames to become cool and safe. He is the Lord who rescued Prophet Yunus, peace be upon him, from the darkness of the whale and returned him to his mission. He is the Lord who elevated Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him, from a prison cell to a position of honor and authority. Again and again, Allah has shown that no situation is beyond His control. The battlefield may look impossible to you, but it does not look impossible to Allah. He sees every detail. He knows every challenge. He understands every fear you carry in your heart. And if He has written victory for you, no force in creation can stop it. So do not focus only on what you see. Focus on the one who controls what you cannot see. Trust that Allah is arranging events, moving pieces into place, and preparing outcomes that are beyond your imagination. Your breakthrough may not arrive the way you expect. Your victory may come through a path you never considered. Your blessing may emerge from a situation that currently looks like a setback. But when Allah changes the battlefield, everything changes. What once looked impossible becomes possible. What once looked lost becomes found. What once looked broken becomes restored. And when the victory finally arrives, you will realize that every delay, every struggle, every closed door, and every unexpected turn was part of Allah's perfect plan to bring you exactly where He wanted you to be. Lesson 6. Allah has already decided something that no one can stop. Chosen one. This final lesson may be the most important message you need to hear today, because there comes a point in every believer's journey when they must decide whether they trust what they see or whether they trust what Allah has promised. Right now, you may be looking at your life and seeing delays, obstacles, unanswered prayers, closed doors, opposition, confusion, and uncertainty. You may feel like you are losing ground while others move ahead. You may wonder why certain blessings seem so far away despite all your effort, patience, and faith. But what if the reality is completely different from what you see? What if, behind the scenes, Allah has already made a decision concerning your future that no person, no enemy, no circumstance, and no force in creation can reverse? Chosen one of the greatest sources of peace for a believer is understanding that Allah's decree is stronger than any obstacle standing in the way. Human beings spend so much of their lives worrying about who is against them, who is talking about them, who is trying to stop them, and what might happen tomorrow. Yet they forget that every human being, every event, every opportunity, and every challenge exists under the authority of Allah alone. Nothing moves without His permission. Nothing happens outside His knowledge. Nothing can interfere with what He has already written. This is why the stories of the prophets teach us again and again that when Allah decides something, the impossible becomes possible. Consider Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him. When he stood against the false idols of his people, powerful leaders became furious with him. They wanted to make an example of him. They gathered wood for days, building an enormous fire so intense that people could not even approach it. Their intention was clear. They wanted to destroy him completely. From a human perspective, there was no escape. Once he was thrown into that fire, everyone expected the story to end. But Allah had already decided otherwise. The same fire that should have burned him became cool and safe by the command of Allah. Think about what that means. The laws of nature themselves changed because Allah had written a different outcome. The people had their plan, but Allah's decree stood above it. Chosen one, there may be situations in your life that look like fire right now. There may be circumstances that appear impossible to survive. Yet if Allah has written protection for you, even the flames must obey His command. Consider also the life of Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him. His brothers plotted against him out of jealousy. They threw him into a well and expected him to disappear from their lives forever. Later, he was sold as a slave, falsely accused, and imprisoned despite his innocence. Every chapter of his story seemed to move further away from the dream Allah had shown him as a child. Yet what his brothers intended for harm became the very path that led him to greatness. Years later, the same people who tried to erase his future stood before him in need of his help. Why? Because Allah had already decided what Yusuf, peace be upon him, would become. No betrayal could stop it. No prison could stop it. No false accusation could stop it. No delay could stop it. Chosen one, understand this deeply. When Allah has written something for you, delays do not cancel it. Setbacks do not destroy it, and opposition does not remove it. Sometimes Allah allows challenges not to stop the blessing, but to strengthen you before it arrives. Think about Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. There were moments when the believers appeared weak, isolated, and surrounded by enemies. There were times when the future seemed uncertain, yet Allah had already decreed that Islam would spread. The opposition could delay events, but they could not stop what Allah had decided. Every obstacle eventually became part of a greater victory. This is why believers must learn to look beyond their present circumstances. Too many people judge their future based on today's problems. They see a closed door and assume the opportunity is gone. They experience a delay and assume the answer is no. They face rejection and assume they have been forgotten. But Allah's decree does not depend on current circumstances. If Allah has written success for you, He can create opportunities where none exist. If He has written provision for you, He can send it from directions you never expected. If He has written healing for you, no illness can prevent it. If He has written protection for you, no enemy can overcome it. If He has written honor for you, no criticism can permanently take it away. Chosen one, there is something incredibly powerful about realizing that your future is not controlled by people. It is not controlled by the economy, by circumstances, by luck, by trends, or by the opinions of others. Your future is controlled by Allah. The one who created the heavens and the earth is the one writing your story. The one who causes the sun to rise every morning is the one managing every detail of your life. The one who answers prayers, parts seas, protects prophets, and changes destinies is still in control today. That means the situation you are worried about is not too difficult for Him. The problem keeping you awake at night is not beyond His power. The obstacle that seems impossible to overcome is not impossible for Allah. In fact, many of the greatest blessings arrive only after believers think all hope is gone. Why? Because Allah wants them to know that the victory came from Him and not from their own strength. Chosen one, perhaps Allah has allowed you to reach a point where every human solution has failed so that you finally place your trust completely in Him. Perhaps He has removed every distraction so you can focus on the one source that never fails. Perhaps He has delayed the answer so that when it comes, you will recognize it as a gift from Allah and not merely the result of your own effort. Remember this: if Allah has decided to elevate you, no person can permanently bring you down. If Allah has decided to bless you, no enemy can steal that blessing. If Allah has decided to open a door, no one can close it. And if Allah has written a future for you, every challenge you face today is simply a chapter, not the conclusion. So stop measuring your destiny by your current circumstances. Stop assuming that today's struggle defines tomorrow's outcome. Stop believing that delays mean denial. Instead, trust the decree of Allah. Trust the wisdom of Allah. Trust the timing of Allah. Because while you are worrying about what might happen, Allah has already written what will happen. And if He has decided something good for you, then every obstacle, every setback, every disappointment, every closed door, and every difficult season will eventually bow before His command. One day, you will look back and realize that what felt like chaos was actually divine order, what felt like loss was actually protection, and what felt like delay was actually preparation. And on that day, you will understand. Conclusion, chosen one. After hearing these 6 powerful lessons, take a moment and reflect on your own journey. Think about the doors that closed, the plans that failed, the people who walked away, the opportunities that disappeared, and the seasons of waiting that seemed impossible to understand. For a long time, you may have viewed those moments as losses, disappointments, or setbacks. But what if they were actually signs of Allah's protection and guidance? What if Allah cancelled certain plans because they were leading you away from your purpose? What if He stopped people from harming you even when you never knew the danger existed? What if the delays you complained about were preparing you for blessings greater than anything you could have imagined? Throughout the lives of the prophets, we see the same pattern repeated again and again. Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him, thought he was being abandoned, but Allah was preparing him for leadership. Prophet Musa, peace be upon him, stood before the sea with no visible escape, but Allah made a way where none existed. Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, was thrown into a fire, but Allah turned destruction into protection. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, faced years of opposition, yet Allah fulfilled his promise and granted victory. In every story, there were moments when everything appeared to be falling apart, but in reality, Allah was putting everything together. Chosen one, the same Allah who guided them is guiding you. The same Allah who protected them is protecting you. The same Allah who fulfilled his promises to them is fully capable of fulfilling his promises to you. Your current situation is not the end of your story. The struggle you are facing today is not your final chapter. The delay is not permanent. The closed door is not the end. The rejection is not the conclusion. Allah is still writing your story, and He is writing it with perfect wisdom. So stop focusing on what was taken away and start trusting the one who took it away. Stop mourning every closed door and start believing that Allah knows which doors are worth opening. Keep making dua. Keep strengthening your faith. Keep moving forward with patience and trust. Because when Allah decides to bless a servant, nothing can stop it. When Allah decides to elevate a believer, no enemy can prevent it. And when Allah has written something for you, it will reach you even if the entire world stands in the way. One day, you will look back at everything that confused you and realize that Allah cancelled certain things because He had already decided to give you something far greater. Until that day arrives, remain patient, remain faithful, and remain close to Allah. And if you truly believe that Allah's plan is better than your own, type "Allah's plan is perfect" in the comments below. And remember, what Allah has written for you will never miss you, and what misses you was never meant for you.